Hello, this is Michael here. Happy New Year. I'm recording this audio segment on the 1st of January, and forgive me if I sound a little groggy. New Year celebrations were kind of intense, but I digress. I'd just like to explain that I was aiming to have this video done and uploaded before the new year, but little technical hiccup because I made the fatal error of not making backups of the save files. Adobe Premiere Pro crashed on me, meaning I had to start from scratch. So, whoops, I've only myself to blame. I know, I'm an idiot. But it doesn't matter because I took the time to get back to where I was and finally uploaded. So yeah, just a little explanation here, because the live footage was shot literally the day after I saw the film. That was the 17th of December. Doesn't matter, it's finished now and I hope you enjoyed it.
One of these days. One of these days. Oh. Hello there. Welcome back to GallifreyanAvenger Reviews. My name is Michael, or GallifreyanAvenger, and today I will be reviewing the next installment of the Star Wars franchise, the much anticipated Star Wars The Last Jedi. Now, if you've seen my Force Awakens review, you'll know that for the most part I enjoyed it. But when it really narrowed down to it, it was just a copy and paste of A New Hope. With Rian Johnson directing, I had high hopes for this film and see what avenues it would explore and not needing to go down the safe route. And more than anything, I was looking forward to seeing more of Daisy Ridley. From the trailers, we knew that Rey was going to be trained by Luke Skywalker, while the First Order continued on its conquest to dominate the galaxy. And sadly, this was the last on-screen appearance of Carrie Fisher as Leia. Rest in peace. And no, I'm not counting that CGI abomination that was in Rogue One. Also, as a film graduate, I was really intrigued to see how the shots turned out from when they were filming in Skellig Michael and County Kerry and Donegal. So without any further ado, let's dive straight in.
Right, well, needless to say, this film is riddled with spoilers, so I'll give you a fair warning of when I'm going to delve into them.
The film more or less picks off exactly where we left off from The Force Awakens. The First Order is in hot pursuit of the Resistance, with Kylo Ren and General Hux at the forefront.
Poe Dameron and Leia are clutching at straws as to how they're going to escape the clutches of the First Order, with their minimal remainder of resistant fighters among them.
Supreme Leader Snoke essentially renounces Kylo Ren as his apprentice, causing Ren to have an existential crisis. Ren tries to redeem himself by personally joining the fleet of TIE fighters trying to eliminate the rebels. Poe leads his own team to face the enemy forces, but his reckless actions cause the deaths of many of his crew, and ultimately results in him getting demoted.
Meanwhile, on Skellig Michael, we are reacquainted with Rey and Luke Skywalker. I'm sure Rey must have had a sore arm reaching out with a lightsaber for 2 years. Luke more or less says he's given up trying to be the so-called beacon of hope after his failed attempt of forming a new Jedi Order after Kylo betrays him.
After reluctantly agreeing to train Rey, he soon learns of the unhinged potential of her Force sensitivity and he quickly backs down. Back on the Resistance ship, Finn comes to from his coma and immediately wonders what happened to Rey.
Where's Rey?
After learning she is safe, he teams up with a distraught Resistance mechanic, Rose Tico, who recently lost her sister in a devastating battle against the First Order.
Finn, Rose and Poe soon learn that they are being tracked through lightspeed by the First Order and tried to form a plan to infiltrate and cripple the forces of the First Order. And pause. Okay, so far so good. All the chess pieces are in motion and things are about to go down. The characters are still compelling and their dynamics work quite well overall. The story beats of The Empire Strikes Back are there, but there are a couple of twists and turns. Rian Johnson, the director, has really big shoes to fill, taking on this daunting undertaking of escaping the safety net that was The Force Awakens. Some of the shots and stylistic decisions are admirable, and the story goes in a whole new direction. For better or for worse, let's find out. This is the spoiler warning. There's no coming back from here. It is impossible to come to my final verdict without delving into spoilers. If you want my spoiler-free opinion, it's good, but there is a lot of wasted potential. There are some aspects that left me very confused, but it's still shot, produced and acted very well. I'd call it ambitious, taking a step outside of our comfort zone. Some would say that the negatives outweigh the positives, or vice versa, but I'd like to consider myself in the middle ground. If you haven't watched the film yet, stop this video now, as I'm going to dive straight into major plot points and spoilers. You alright there? Yeah, just take your time. Oh. Okay. Right, so if you're still here, I'm assuming that you have seen the film. Shall we continue? Right, let's carry on. Okay, so during the skirmish of the First Order against the Resistance, Leia is caught in the middle of enemy fire and gets caught out in the vacuum of space. To be honest, when I saw this, I thought this was going to be how Leia was going to be killed off. Seeing as Carrie Fisher is no longer with us. However, that's not the case, because what we are shown is one of many what the fuck moments, where Leia attunes herself with the Force, and Force pulls herself back towards the airlock, looking like some sort of Superman meets Mary Poppins knockoff. Apparently Force-sensitive people can temporarily survive a vacuum of space? Alright. I will say this, I hope that when they do kill off Leia, it'll be more dignified. So she survives this, surprisingly enough, but she falls into a coma and is out of action for pretty much the first half of the film. Vice Admiral Holdo assumes command, played by Laura Dern, and to be honest, she has about as much authority as a nagging mother. Poe is totally against Holdo's new leadership, as she keeps Poe in the dark half the time. So Poe forms his own plan with Finn and Rose, as I mentioned earlier, to infiltrate the First Order's ship. At the suggestion of Maz Kanata, who makes a completely wasted cameo, they form a quest to find an expert hacker who can negate the effects of the lightspeed tracking on the First Order ship. Back on Skellig Michael, I refuse to call it by its bullshit planet name, by the way, it's Skellig Michael. But anyway, Rey discovers the ability to communicate with Kylo Ren through the Force, presumably light years away, but it's still pretty neat. Ren proceeds to tell Rey that Skywalker attempted to kill Kylo once he had found out that Snoke had begun to influence him. Rey also tries to discover the truth of her parents in the scene very reminiscent of the Dagobah scenes in The Empire Strikes Back, utilising this really cool effect of infinite reflections. Yeah? The more Daisy Ridley, the better, in my opinion. When Skywalker discovers that Rey has been in contact with Kylo Ren, he flips, and the two of them have a battle crossing swords. After Rey bests Luke and gets the upper hand, she demands that Skywalker tell her the truth about what happened.
Luke indeed saw the darkness in Kylo and was reluctant to take him out. But this was misinterpreted by Ren, who sought vengeance, laying waste to everything.
Luke maintains the belief that the Jedi should end, and after he refuses Rey's offer to join with the Resistance, Rey flies off in a Millennium Falcon, hoping to get Ren to renounce the First Order. After Rey leaves, Luke is left to contemplate in sorrow, and he is about to burn down the Jedi Temple until he is greeted by a Force apparition of everybody's favourite, Yoda. Terrible Yoda impression. And he's a puppet now, not CGI, thank Christ. Yoda berates Luke, essentially telling him to move on, and that failure is the best teacher. It seems the universal decision is that the Jedi should end and people should make their own path. And then Yoda summons lightning on the Jedi Temple, in the next what the fuck moment. Okay, where do I begin with this? I get that Luke is able to still communicate with Yoda as a Force ghost, But now apparently Yoda is able to interact with the physical world when he whacks Luke with his cane and summon lightning. And then Luke goes on to say, "Oh, but what about the ancient Jedi texts?" To which Yoda responds, "Who fucking cares? They're not exactly page turners." Alright. I understand the message they're trying to give, but the whole logic and physics behind the Force Ghosts still gets me. Anyway, back to the B-plot of Finn, Rose and Poe trying to sort themselves out. Holdo is secretly trying to evacuate everyone, much to the outrage of Poe, deeming her a coward. Finn, Rose and BB-8 go on their own separate quest of finding a hacker to sort out the lightspeed tracking. They end up going to Rose's home planet, or at least a planet Rose is familiar with, populated by very wealthy, corrupt, First Order arms dealers, who spend their time in an alien casino. Not quite a rip-off of the cantina, but it's close. They locate their desired hacker, recognisable by the insignia on their lapel, but they end up getting arrested. While imprisoned, they meet another hacker, played by Benicio del Toro, who is pretty much playing the same caricature he played in Guardians of the Galaxy. But I digress. Finn and Rose are reluctant to trust him, but when he easily picks the lock of the cell, freeing them, they think to themselves, he'll do.
The garbage will do!
Also, this begs the question, if he was able to do this the whole time, why did he wait until now to free himself? He's not exactly noble. We find out later he's a backstabbing swindler. Anyway, what follows is a pretty drawn-out chase sequence where Rose, Finn and Del Toro try to escape from the casino police.
Finn and Rose gain the trust of the local impoverished farm youths of the planet and gallop away in the back of these giant lion greyhound creatures.
Indigenous to the planet, whatever. There's also a heavy-handed message about the morality of these arms dealers and how they're contributing to the war, which I kind of rolled my eyes at. Del Toro commandeers a police vehicle and picks up the others and they cruise away. Going back to Poe, he takes control of the ship in a mutiny, trying to gain his control back. However, Leia gets out of her coma and stuns him, and it's suddenly revealed that Leia was on board with the evacuation the whole time, and this was all just a big life lesson for Poe. Thank you, Disney.
I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to go on a ranty tangent here. So the Resistance are escaping in the one flagship with minimal fuel reserves, sufficient for one hyperspace jump, and they're presumably using a substantial amount of energy to power their shields. Bear in mind the First Order is hot on their tail, firing lasers throughout. How resilient are these shields? At the slow speed they're going and the rate of fire from the First Order, realistically their shields would run out fairly quickly, I would have thought.
The pacing of this particular part of the story is incredibly slow, and it takes forever for things to reach a breaking point. Sure, you have enough energy for one hyper jump, but if you're able to sustain your shields for this long, it couldn't hurt to boost the thrusters a bit more, speed up. It's not exactly going to kill you to, I don't know, put your foot down on the accelerator a bit more. Just saying. I mean, remember in A New Hope, in that opening scene where Tantive 4 is trying to get away from the Star Destroyer? It's like that, but 100 times longer. Anyway, Rey and Kylo are brought before Snoke, where we learn that he was the puppet master behind their Force communication, hoping to get answers to where Luke is. Snoke then tortures Rey, hoping to extract the info from her. Finn, Rose and Del Toro successfully infiltrate Snoke's First Order ship, but they're intercepted and captured by everyone's favourite, Captain Phasma. Del Toro is revealed to have sold them out, betraying them effectively. He's basically the new Lando Calrissian. When the First Order learn about the evacuation, they open fire on the escape cruisers, making their way towards the nearest resistance base. And again, they don't know how to put on the accelerator, or dodge. I don't know what capabilities this ship has, but never mind. The Resistance fighters flee the flagship, leaving Admiral Holdo as the sole occupant, and she decides to sacrifice herself in a kamikaze attempt, colliding with Snoke's ship at light speed. I'm not going to lie, this was probably my favourite shot in the entire film. The impact is shown in complete silence, and it's actually very powerful. While this is going on, however, there's time for two separate things to happen. And fear not, I've rants for both of them. So in the midst of the destruction, Finn faces Phasma in one of the built-up moments shown in the trailers. Oh, this is great. Captain Phasma's actually going to do something. This is actually exciting. Wait, what? She goes down after like 2 minutes. What the fuck? What is the point of building up these characters if they ultimately serve no purpose? Oh sure, she graduated from the Boba Fett school of looking intimidating, but not actually doing anything. But for God's sake, what is the point of her? Oh yeah, we see her eye through a crack in her armour as she falls into the inferno. Is that meant to foreshadow anything? God knows. Good riddance. To quote myself from my Force Awakens review, Captain Phasma, played by Gwendolyn Christie, amounts to nothing. So Finn, Rose and BB-8 make their escape and rejoin the Resistance ship. I'm sorry, I'm just preparing myself for what happens next. Okay. So we go back to Snoke's quarters, where Kylo is ordered to eliminate Rey. However, Kylo is able to shift the lightsaber right next to Snoke and cut him in half, killing him. The Dark Lord of the Sith, or whatever bullshit equivalent they're using this time around, can't sense the force movement of an object 2 fucking inches away from him. So Snoke is dead now, and do you want to know what I think? Why would you build up this character so much, having him more or less assume the role of Emperor Palpatine, the new Supreme Overlord if you like, and not explore, I don't know, 1, who he is and where he came from, 2, how did he tempt Ben Solo to the dark side, 3, if Luke, Han or Leia had any previous dealings with him, seeing as Leia referred to him by name in The Force Awakens.
It was Snoke. He seduced our son to the dark side.
4, how did he succeed Vader and Palpatine? And 5, when, where, and how did he establish the fucking First Order? What the actual fuck?
Good. I can feel your anger.
This is inexcusable. This is even worse than Phasma. There is a gaping hole where story building should be. Johnson, you really dropped the ball here. Anyway, Rey and Kylo deal with the Praetorian Guards who were meant to guard Snoke. You had one fucking job, guys. Once the guards are defeated, Kylo attempts to persuade Rey to join the dark side, bringing up the revelation of Rey's parents. It turns out that Rey's parents are just wannabe junk dealers who abandoned Rey on Jakku, putting this whole Skywalker lineage theory to rest.
There's no doubt in my mind that this revelation must have pissed people off, but I'll be honest, it didn't bother me all that much. It just shows you don't need to be a Skywalker to achieve legendary abilities. The Skywalker family, who quite frankly have gotten enough fucking attention, tearing the galaxy apart with their fucking drama.
Anyway, Rey rejects the offer to the dark side and they both try to force pull the lightsaber, ultimately breaking it in two. This ignores another question I had from The Force Awakens, which was when and where was the lightsaber retrieved after falling into the Bespin atmosphere in Cloud City. Thanks a lot, Ryan, fuck you, I'm on Disney's payroll, Johnson. Anyway, the main characters make their own separate ways off of Snoke's crumbling ship. The Resistance arrive at one of their deserted bases. With very few in number, they say to themselves, "We can't give up," and proceed to build a makeshift command centre. Well, it's actually inspiring enough. They prepare to retaliate against the oncoming onslaught of First Order forces, complete with TIE fighters and AT-AT walkers. The First Order are unable to get past the heavily armoured blast doors until they bring out the... battering ram cannon. That's right. Battering ram cannon.
I'm not even kidding. It's mentioned in the film, battering ram cannon. Rian Johnson actually wrote the words battering ram cannon and expected us to take it seriously. The resistance forces. Posturing Ram Cannon.
Just roll with it, I guess. The resistance forces are small in numbers until Rey, the literal human Deus Ex Machina, appears to fight them off along with Luke. Finn and Rose pilot these rickety old speeders in their assault against the First Order. And this scene, the planet is called Crate. The atmosphere is beautiful to look at. The salt-covered ground covering a crimson-coloured soil, adding to the film's motif of the colour red. Finn attempts to take out the battering ram cannon by executing a kamikaze attempt. This really is a running theme, isn't it? He does a kamikaze attempt until Rose intercepts him and critically wounds herself. Before she passes out, Rose tells Finn that she was simply protecting the one she loved and kisses him. Ooh, I see a love triangle taking shape. Luke appears in front of Leia, reminding her not to give up on hope, and kisses her on the forehead. Not quite a copy of Empire, but it's close. Hooray, incest! Anyway, the rest of the Resistance are planning to evacuate. Gee, what's new? When Luke walks out in front of the blast doors and faces the enemy vehicles. Kylo Ren angrily demands that the AT-AT walkers and enemy vehicles shoot down on the Elder Skywalker, ignoring the commands of his comrades like General Hux, or Space Hitler if I'm being honest. The army follow the command and unleash a barrage of lasers that's pretty much overkill. However, we're shown that Luke survives this, and Ren escapes his vehicle and faces Luke in a lightsaber battle. Luke is using the blue Skywalker lightsaber in this battle, and at first I thought it was a lazy continuity error, seeing as this was the lightsaber that was destroyed with the Force pull match between Rey and Kylo. But that's when it hits us. Luke isn't actually present. This is actually a Force projection of Luke, with the real Luke still being on Skellig Michael. Putting aside the logic and physics of this Force projection, I thought it was pretty cool. Luke assures Kylo that he is not the Last Jedi, and that Rey will succeed him and any other Force-sensitive people that happen to be out there. Luke successfully stalls the First Order, and the team escape, and the Resistance succeed in their evacuation. Luke succumbs to exhaustion, having pushed himself to the limits with the Force projection, and he dies, becoming one with the Force. Meanwhile, Rey helps the rebels board the Millennium Falcon and shares a touching reunion with Finn. They take off, ready to begin anew, putting aside the Jedi beliefs with a clean slate. Kylo Ren is hoping to do the same thing with his faction, having assumed the position of the Supreme Leader. We think it's going to end there until we cut back to the kids from the casino planet. Random. One of them summons his broom with the Force, alluding to him being the next generation of Force-sensitive people, and he then looks up at the stars, and that's when the film finishes off. And that's where the film finished me off. What else do I say? I will say this. While this film does have familiar story beats, it goes down new paths and explores more into the new characters. Finn and Rose work very well off each other. Rey has great dynamics with both Luke and Kylo. And Poe has his own great development, evolving from this persona of the overconfident hotshot pilot. As I said earlier, the overabundance of the colour red gives this film a sense of atmosphere, and stylistically the effects and camera work are spot on. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the Porgs. The Porgs... they're alright, I guess. They don't become annoying, but they're just kind of there. Kind of in the same way that R2-D2 and C-3PO are still there. What I will say against this film is, man, is there a shit ton of padding and wasted potential. The Resistance chase from the First Order becomes super dull very quickly. And the section of the movie where they go to the casino planet, you could have easily cut that out. I'm really conflicted about this film. While it's a bold choice to start afresh, some of the aspects have become complete red herrings, Snoke in particular. I know that a brand new trilogy for Rian Johnson has been greenlit, which makes me a little dubious after seeing this film as to how that'll turn out. All that being said and done, this film got a reaction out of me. It had its good moments and it had its bad moments. Each character had a sufficient amount of development, and that's all I can ask for. And I'm at least mildly intrigued to see what will follow after this. Star Wars The Last Jedi gets 3 out of 5 stars from me. So, what did you think? Don't forget to leave your comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I have been Michael, or GallifreyanAvenger, and until next time, may the Force be with you. Yeah, I know. I said it.